www.nh.org.in.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Chandna.
And I'm Jyotsna Kumar. And on the show today, the US has said that there has been a promising start to the new round of talks in Doha on a ceasefire and hostage release deal in the Gaza Strip. And the agreement is seen as the key to stopping the 10-month conflict spiraling into an all-out regional war involving Iran. But expectations of a breakthrough are low. We'll get you all the details on that.
Also on World DNA today, reports say Ukraine has set up a military administrative office inside Russia, in Russia's western Kursk region. Ukraine has also claimed to have made further gains in its incursion of Russia on Thursday. Now, on its 10th day, this is Ukraine's deepest incursion into Russia since Moscow launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine back in 2022. We'll get you the complete details on that as we track those developments. Let's start with the headlines.
White House says US doesn't know if and when an Iranian retaliatory attack against Israel might occur, but it does have information that the attack could come with little or no notice.
Negotiators to meet in Qatari capital Doha again on Friday to hammer out Gaza ceasefire agreement as Israel continued to slam targets in the Palestinian enclave.
Top Ukrainian army commander claims country has set up a military administrative office in Russia's western Kursk region, where its surprise incursion continues.
In protest against the Kolkata trainee doctors' rape and murder, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee to hold protest rally today. Indian Medical Association declares nationwide withdrawal of non-essential services by doctors for 24 hours from 6 a.m. on Saturday, August 17th.
Kolkata police arrest 12 suspected miscreants and are searching for others who were part of the mob that vandalized Kolkata's R.G. Kar Medical College and Hospital.
US President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris appeared together in Maryland to discuss plans to lower out-of-pocket costs for older adults on Medicare, their first joint campaign since the president ended his re-election bid.
U.S. vice presidential candidates Tim Walz and J.D. Vance agreed to debate on October 1st. Debate to be moderated by CBS News anchors Nora O'Donnell and Margaret Brennan.
Claudia Sheinbaum, the woman who won Mexico's June 2nd presidential vote, has finally been formally declared Mexico's president-elect, the first woman to hold the office in Mexico.
no aumentarán la gasolina.
Imposition of nationwide internet firewall has triggered a firestorm of controversy in Pakistan. The Pakistan Software Houses Association warns of a $300 million loss to the tech sector as businesses struggle with internet disruptions and VPN failures.
Alarm bells are ringing for Coco Gauff ahead of her US Open title defense. The defending champion is knocked out in the opening round of the Cincinnati Open by Yulia Putintseva. Third seed Sabalenka through to round of 16.
And we start with our top story. Washington is on high alert as the latest intelligence suggests Iran could unleash a sudden strike on Israel with no warning at all.
And the exact timing and nature of this potential attack remains shrouded in uncertainty. US officials are concerned about the imminent threat. The White House National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby acknowledges a dearth of concrete intelligence regarding the timing or certainty of an Iranian reprisal, yet he emphasizes the looming threat of a swift, unforeseen strike.
The U.S. alert comes as crucial ceasefire talks are underway in Doha. The Biden administration treads a fine line balancing between preparedness and hope for de-escalation.
It has rushed a nuclear submarine and 2 aircraft carriers to bolster its presence in West Asia. Meanwhile, Tehran has dismissed international calls for restraint, while its proxy Hezbollah vows vengeance. There is a hope that a ceasefire deal may prevent Iran from attacking Israel. International negotiators will meet in Doha again today in an effort to hammer out a ceasefire deal as Israel continues to pound Hamas targets in Gaza.
Now, Palestinian authorities have said at least one person was killed after Israeli settlers attacked a village in the West Bank. The armed settlers reportedly attacked a village near the city of Kalkilia and fired at citizens. One Palestinian was killed and another was critically wounded, the Palestinian Health Ministry said.
Israeli President Isaac Herzog condemned the attack in West Bank. Israel, meanwhile, pressed its assault on Gaza. The Israeli Defense Forces claim to have struck over 30 Hamas targets. Gaza health officials said at least 6 Palestinians were killed on Thursday night in an Israeli airstrike on a house in Jabalia. Israeli troops earlier hit targets in the southern cities of Rafah and Khan Yunis.
Israeli Defense Forces troops continue to fight in Gaza, operating in Rafah, Khan Yunis, the central Gaza Strip, and are striking everywhere. So far, we have eliminated over 17,000 terrorists.
Israeli army has also released images showing what it says are strikes on Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. Hamas, who did not attend the talks in Doha, called Israel's continuing operations an obstacle to progress on a ceasefire.
In a statement issued after talks began in Doha, Hamas official Hossam Badran said that any Gaza ceasefire deal must involve the total withdrawal of Israeli forces from the embattled territory. After Thursday's negotiations in Doha, Qatari Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani spoke with Iranian leaders to update them about progress in the talks.
In another effort to diffuse the tensions in West Asia, British and French foreign ministers will travel to Israel to call for an urgent ceasefire and a de-escalation in any wider conflict. WION's correspondent Jody Cohen spoke to a former advisor at the PMO in Israel, Ruthie Bloom, about the U.S. president urging for ceasefire to de-escalate the region and the threats from Iran and Hezbollah.
So you mentioned the United States then. The Biden administration, President Biden himself has said that a ceasefire would be the best chance at a de-escalation in the region as Israel is facing a threat from Iran and Hezbollah. Do you see that having an impact on the talks at all?
No, first of all, ceasefire just means we cease and they fire, as we've seen repeatedly throughout the years. And what's more, nothing de-escalates. When Israel is weak, there is no de-escalation. On the contrary, any capitulation to a bloodthirsty terrorist organization only escalates the situation. It's just the opposite.
Ruthie Bloom, thank you for speaking with WION.
Thank you so much for having me.
Do you agree with IDF Reserve spokesperson Doron Spilman, who's come out against the deal, saying that it's dangerous for Israel?
Absolutely agree with that. Yes, it is. Now, having said that, of course the entire country wants the hostages back. And therefore, if there were such a deal that guaranteed the return of all the hostages, I think many Israelis, even Doron Spilman, would question whether they'd say, you know what, for that it's worth it. But there is no such deal on the table, and all we are doing is endangering our soldiers and our civilians, because we've seen anybody who's released in such a deal, it's not that the hostages will be released, it's that bloodthirsty terrorists will be released.
All right, we now shift focus to the Russia-Ukraine front. Ukraine claims to have set up a military administrative office in Russia's western Kursk region, where its surprise incursion continues.
Now, Ukraine says it has made further gains in Russia, with over 1,100 square kilometers, about 82 settlements, seized. Also, it says it has full control of Sudza, a town 8 kilometers from the border. On the 10th day, it's Ukraine's deepest incursion since Russia launched its full-scale invasion in 2022.
Ukraine is using weapons provided by Western powers. UK has joined US and Germany in allowing the country to use its arms inside Russia. However, Russia is not ready to give up just yet. Reports suggest the country is urgently advertising trench diggers to build defenses, and this as it ups its attacks against Ukraine. A video released by Russian Defense Ministry shows the destruction of HIMARS launcher in the Sumy region of Ukraine. The high mobility rocket system was used in the attack on Kursk. Also, Moscow says it has recaptured a village in the region that was seized by Kyiv.
Meanwhile, Ukraine says Russian strikes in 3 of its territories have killed 5 civilians. After hundreds-strong mob of miscreants vandalized Kolkata's RG Kar hospital on Thursday night in India's eastern state of West Bengal, Kolkata police have detained at least 12 suspects in connection with the vandalism at the hospital. And meanwhile, the Indian Medical Association has now declared a 24-hour nationwide withdrawal of services in a show of support for the doctors.
Well, the announcement comes as Reclaim the Night march held in support of the brutal rape and murder of 31-year-old trainee doctor in Kolkata's RG Kar Medical College and Hospital was attacked by hundreds of vandals. According to the official statement issued by IMA, the doctors will stay on strike for 24 hours till 6 a.m. on Sunday, and OPD services will remain closed. Doctors from all government and private hospitals that are affiliated with the Indian Medical Association will be on strike. Bengal's Chief Minister, Mamata Banerjee, is also set to hold a protest march in Kolkata today.
Meanwhile, protests and marches continue across the country as thousands of women marched holding candles and carrying placards demanding justice for the deceased victim. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his Independence Day speech, also mentioned the horrific crime and urged the Indian society to self-respect on the crimes committed against women.
एक समाज के नाते हमें गंभीरता से सोचना होगा कि हमारी माताओं, बहनों, बेटियों के प्रति जो अत्याचार हो रहे हैं, उसके प्रति देश का आक्रोश है, जन सामान्य का आक्रोश है। इस आक्रोश को मैं महसूस कर रहा हूं। इसको देश को, समाज को, हमारी राज्य सरकारों को गंभीरता से लेना होगा। महिलाओं के विरुद्ध अपराधों की जल्द से जल्द जांच हो, राक्षसी कृत्य करने वालों को जल्द से जल्द कड़ी सजा हो, वो समाज में विश्वास पैदा करने के लिए जरूरी है।
The inhuman rape and murder of Kolkata's trainee doctor has brought back the memories of 2012 The Delhi rape case, which had raised concerns of women's safety in Indian society and had become a catalyst for police and judicial reforms surrounding the issue. International pressure on Venezuela is increasing. US President Joe Biden has now voiced his support for a new round of elections in Venezuela.
Now, this comes after Brazilian President Lula da Silva floated the idea. However, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has rejected comments from US and Brazilian leaders about his country's contested July presidential election. Take a look at this report for more.
U.S. President Joe Biden said on Thursday that he supported a new election in Venezuela. The U.S. has rejected the claim by Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro that he won a third term after multiple exit polls pointed to an opposition victory. Many Venezuelans also reject Maduro's claim, as protests have erupted across the country, with opposition leaders calling for supporters to keep up the demonstrations until they are recognized for what they claim was a resounding victory. On Thursday, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva
of next year. So he's the president of the republic regardless of the elections. So, if he has common sense, he could try to call to the people of Venezuela and perhaps even call new elections, establish criteria for the participation of all candidates.
Brazil's leader also said a coalition government could be another possible solution for Venezuela. But so far, Venezuela's ruling party and the opposition have ruled out Biden and Lula's suggestions. Here's opposition leader Maria Corina Machado.
Not recognizing what happened on July 28th to me is a lack of respect for the Venezuelans who gave them all and expressed their popular sovereignty. Popular sovereignty must be respected, and elections already happened.
Machado has thrown her support behind presidential candidate Edmundo Gonzalez. Tallies posted online by the opposition show Gonzalez received 67% of the vote. But Venezuela's electoral authority proclaimed Maduro won 51% of the vote, but has not divulged full vote tallies.
Now, Sweden has confirmed its first case of the Mpox viral infection, making it the first case outside of Africa.
And this is just a day after the WHO declared the disease a global public health emergency. Swedish Public Health Agency's Director General Olivia Wigswell said that the person got infected while staying in a part of Africa where there was a large outbreak of the disease. She further said the infected person has received care and instructions in line with the health agency's recommendations.
Jag har en person som har sökt vård i Region Stockholm som har konstaterats ha Mpox orsakad av, som vi hörde, virusvarianten clade 1. Och fallet är det första som är orsakat av clade 1 som har diagnostiserats utanför den afrikanska kontinenten.
Meanwhile, United Nations Deputy Spokesman Farhan Haq reiterated the World Health Organization's announcement calling the Mpox virus a public health emergency of international concern. The outbreak in Congo began with the spread of an endemic strain called Clade I, but a new variant, Clade IB, appears to spread more easily through routine close contact, including sexual contact. It has spread from Congo to neighboring countries, including Burundi, Kenya, Rwanda, and Uganda, triggering the action from the WHO. Mpox can spread through close contact, usually mild. It is fatal in rare cases. It causes flu-like symptoms and pus-filled lesions on the body.
WHO is warning also about the potential of this Mpox virus to spread further across countries in Africa and possibly outside the continent. To allow for an immediate scale-up, WHO has released $1.45 million from the WHO Contingency Fund for emergencies. It may need to release more in the coming days.
Furthermore, the global vaccine group Gavi has up to $500 million to spend on getting shots to countries affected by an escalating Mpox outbreak in Africa. Gavi helps countries with less resources buy and deploy vaccines, usually against childhood vaccines like measles, but it expanded into broader efforts during the COVID-19 pandemic. While the world focuses on the ongoing conflict gripping West Asia and Eastern Europe, Sudan has been shattered by a 16-month-long civil war.
Some headway to end this crisis is being made in Bern as ongoing ceasefire talks are being held in Switzerland. However, the absence of Sudanese military, one of the warring sides, at these negotiations have led many to cast doubts on the chances of a truce. More details are in our next report.
Thank you so much, Ireland.
Peace talks aimed at ending Sudan's shattering civil war continued in Switzerland on Thursday. Discussions began a day before. However, the military's absence from negotiations dampened hopes for imminent steps to alleviate the country's humanitarian crisis. The paramilitary Rapid Support Forces sent a delegation to the talks, but direct mediation will be impossible without the army present, U.S. Special Envoy Tom Perriello said this week.
We will not be able to do in-person mediated talks with the parties if the parties are not there, even if one party is not there.
Instead, participants including Egypt, the UAE, the United Nations, African Union, East African body IGAD, and experts would consult on roadmaps for a cessation of violence and carrying out humanitarian aid deliveries. The army has said its absence from the talks arises from the failure to implement previous U.S. and Saudi brokered commitments to pull combatants out of civil areas and facilitate aid deliveries. Mediators say both sides disregarded that accord. The RSF has denied many accounts of fighters attacking civilians and looting. It says it is open to a peace deal if the army engages in talks. In Port Sudan, locals hope an agreement can be reached.
We want peace that satisfies all Sudanese people, without excluding any person. I hope that people go back to their homes, and the rest to support those who have been affected, lost their homes, those whose homes were destroyed. We are supporting anything that would lead to an end of the war, with an agreement of everyone in a way that satisfies all people, all over Sudan.
UN officials have warned that Sudan is at breaking point, and that without a larger global response, there will be tens of thousands of preventable deaths from hunger, disease, floods, and violence in the coming months. The war erupted in April 2023 amid disputes over how to integrate the army and RSF as part of a transition from military rule to free elections. The world's worst humanitarian crisis has ensued, with half the 50 million population lacking food and famine taking hold in part of the North Darfur region.
Moving on, NASA has said that it will make a final decision by end of August on the way to bring back the 2 U.S. astronauts stuck in space.
This is, of course, stuck on the troubled Boeing Starliner mission. The space agency is still weighing its options. Originally, the plan was for the astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams to return to Earth in the Starliner just after a week of being in space. However, a series of technical problems, including thruster failures and helium leaks, have delayed their homecoming. NASA has been considering an alternative, which is allowing Wilmore and Williams to catch a ride back to Earth on SpaceX's next flight. This could keep them in orbit until February 2025.
The decision, however, isn't easy to take, as it would mean delaying the return of the Starliner and possibly reshuffling the crew for SpaceX's upcoming mission. NASA officials are currently analyzing data to determine the best course of action, with a final decision expected by next week. NASA's Space Operations Mission Chief Ken Bowersox emphasized the importance of careful deliberation, stating, "We've got time available before we bring Starliner home, and we want to use that time wisely."
If SpaceX is chosen as the return option, it would require adjusting the crew lineup for the next SpaceX Dragon flight, and this is now slated for late September. Wilmore and Williams, both seasoned astronauts with extensive experience aboard the space station, would take the open seats on the return flight. As NASA continues to evaluate its options, Chief Astronaut Joe Ackerber expressed confidence in the astronauts' adaptability, stating, and I'm quoting here, "They will do what we ask them to do. That's their job as astronauts."
Played on a tablet. These procedures. I'll go first and you follow me.
Now, there has been a significant rise in influx of Chinese immigrants into Japan. particularly in Tokyo.
But this influx has not only reshaped the demographic landscape, but also had a notable impact on the real estate market. Reports say there's been a substantial increase in wealthy Chinese immigrants moving into Japan over the last 5 years, with many choosing to settle in central districts like Chuo, Bunkyo and Chiyoda. The result has been a nearly 20% rise in the foreign population across Tokyo's 23 wards.
The Immigration Services Agency of Japan reports that the number of foreign residents hit a record of approximately 3.41 million in 2023, an 11% increase from the previous year. Chinese nationals make up the largest group with over 800,000. This is up from 62,000 over the previous year.
The increase in Chinese buyers has also significantly driven up housing prices. Newly built apartments in Tokyo's 23 wards now average nearly 115 million yen, a 39.4% increase from the previous year nationwide. And this surge in immigration is partly attributed to Japan's stability and the favorable conditions for foreign residents. Japan's recent relaxation of residence qualifications, including the introduction of business management visas, has made it easier for wealthy Chinese to settle in the country. Apart from this, many individuals, despite earning high salaries in China, seek a better quality of life. Factors like air quality, living environment, and overall family happiness often drive the decision to move. All right, it's time now for a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Lots more on the other side.
Now, on the other side, U.S. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris appeared together for the first time after former's exit from 2024 race for the White House.
Also on the other side, U.S. investigators charge 5 people in connection with the death of 54-year-old Hollywood star Matthew Perry, who died due to ketamine overdose.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I should push myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Massive turning point in the West Asia conflict. Israel opens Iran war front. Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh killed in Tehran, a targeted attack during a visit to Iran for the new president's inauguration. Nearly 2,000 kilometers away in Beirut, Israel kills a top Hezbollah commander in a targeted strike. West Asia on the boil, war clouds darken, and the threat of a wider conflict grows bigger than ever.
everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I should push myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Welcome back. You're watching WION World is One, and this is World DNA. Let's get started with the headlines first.
White House says US doesn't know if and when an Iranian retaliatory attack against Israel might occur, but it does have information that the attack could come with little or no notice.
Negotiators to meet in Qatari capital Doha again on Friday to hammer out Gaza ceasefire agreement as Israel continues to slam targets in the Palestinian enclave.
Top Ukrainian army commander claims country has set up a military administrative office in Russia's western Kursk region where its surprise incursion continues.
In protest against the Kolkata trainee doctors' rape and murder, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee to hold protest rally today. Indian Medical Association declares nationwide withdrawal of non-essential services by doctors for 24 hours from 6 a.m. local time on Saturday, August 17.
US President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris appeared together in Maryland to discuss plans to lower out-of-pocket costs for older adults on Medicare, their first joint campaign event since Joe Biden ended his re-election bid.
U.S. vice presidential candidates Tim Walz and J.D. Vance agreed to debate on October 1st, debate to be moderated by CBS News anchors Nora O'Donnell and Margaret Brennan.
Claudia Sheinbaum, the woman who won Mexico's June 2nd presidential vote, has finally been formally declared Mexico's president-elect, the first woman to hold the office in Mexico.
Daily trading volumes in China plummet to a 4-year low. Investors are opting for the sidelines as uncertainty over policy response deepens.
Alarm bells are ringing for Coco Gauff ahead of her US Open title defense. The defending champion is knocked out in the opening round of the Cincinnati Open by Yulia Putintseva. Third seed Sabalenka through to round of 16. US President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris appeared together for the first time since Joe Biden exited the 2024 race for the White House and Kamala Harris replaced him as the Democratic presidential nominee.
Right, now Biden and Harris announced agreements on lower drug costs for the first time. Now, first 10 medications selected under a Medicare price negotiation program. Now, these include those that treat diabetes, blood clots, heart failure, rheumatoid arthritis, and blood cancers.
And I are going to keep fighting to lower the prescription drug costs for everyone, not just seniors. It's a fight that we have to continue. Folks.
The policy event quickly took on the tone and feel of a campaign rally. Harris, who first spoke, said it's her eternal and great honor to serve with Biden. Joe Biden, on the other hand, did not hold back to criticize Trump.
It is my eternal and great, great, great honor, I have to tell you, to serve with this most extraordinary human being and American and leader, our President, Joe Biden.
Folks, I have an incredible partner. The progress we made, she's going to make one hell of a president. Not a single Republican voted for this bill, period. Not one in the entire Congress. Now, the reason I say that is not to make a political point about them, not if they've gotten their lesson, but guess what? They want to, the guy we're running against, what's his name? Donald Dump or Donald, whatever. They want to get rid of this, what we passed.
Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump is opening his latest news conference with renewed attacks that his Democratic rival Kamala Harris broke the border and broke the world.
Kamala Harris is a radical California liberal who broke the economy, broke the border, and broke the world, frankly. Very destructive to the entire world because as we go, oftentimes the world goes. She destroys everything she touches, and if she wins, your finances and your country will never recover. You're never going to recover.
With the economy taking center stage in the presidential contest, Trump is blaming inflation directly on government spending. The former president suggested that Harris' proposal was akin to communist price controls, a concept he termed as the Maduro plan.
Meanwhile, according to a Washington Post report, the U.S. Secret Service has approved a new plan for Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump to continue outdoor rallies. This comes after a July assassination attempt on him. The agency will use bulletproof glass to shield Trump, as well as other technical security measures that have normally not been provided for presidential candidates. And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report. Take a look.
Former President Donald Trump blamed Kamala Harris for price hikes during a news conference at his New Jersey golf club, surrounded by grocery items to illustrate his point. Trump's economic speech the previous day was criticized for lacking focus. Meanwhile, Harris is planning her own economic policy speech, promising to address price gouging. Meanwhile, Trump's campaign is expanding its staff, adding former aides and advisors. Trump's interactions with the media comes as Harris has rarely interacted with reporters since becoming the Democrat nominee, but says that she plans on doing at least one interview by the end of August. Also, in a show of unity for the first time since Harris became the Democrat nominee, her and Joe Biden appeared together at a Maryland community college event, praising each other and discussing prescription drug costs. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
And moving on, U.S. investigators have charged 5 people in connection with the death of Friends star Matthew Perry.
Well, the 54-year-old Hollywood star was found unresponsive at his Pacific home in Los Angeles last year. Authorities say the defendants, including 2 doctors and a personal assistant to Perry, are a part of a broad underground criminal network. They allegedly distribute large quantities of the prescription drug ketamine to the actor and others. The two doctors are accused of distributing ketamine to Perry from September to October last year. The charges against the accused include conspiracy to distribute ketamine, distribution of ketamine resulting in death, possession with intent to distribute methamphetamine, and altering and falsifying records related to a federal investigation.
The autopsy report has concluded Perry died of acute effects of ketamine that caused the actor to lose consciousness and drown in his hot tube in October last year. For months, Los Angeles homicide detectives and federal agents have been investigating how Perry obtained the prescription drug. Remember, Perry had long struggled with substance abuse and addiction in the weeks leading up to his death.
5 people have been charged with causing Friend star Matthew Perry's overdose death, including 2 doctors.
These defendants took advantage of Mr. Perry's addiction issues to enrich themselves.
U.S. Attorney Martín Estrada detailed the indictment at a news conference.
Over 2 months, from September to October 2023, they distributed approximately 20 vials of ketamine to Mr. Perry in exchange for $55,000 in cash. Defendant Placentia saw this as an opportunity to profit off of Mr. Perry. He wrote in a text message in September 2023, quote, "I wonder how much this moron will pay."
Authorities say the defendants were part of a criminal network that distributed ketamine to Perry and others. 2 have been arrested. Ketamine is a short-acting anesthetic with hallucinogenic properties, sometimes prescribed to treat depression. For months, Los Angeles homicide detectives and federal agents have been investigating how Perry obtained the prescription drug. Perry had publicly acknowledged decades of drug and alcohol abuse, including during the years he starred as Chandler Bing on the hit 1990s television sitcom Friends. He was found floating face down in his hot tub at his Los Angeles home last October. He died of the acute effects of ketamine, according to an autopsy report.
China's onshore stock market is facing a significant downturn. Daily turnover has plummeted to a 4-year low.
Now, this is indicating a sharp decline in investor confidence. The combined trading volume on the Shanghai and Shenzhen exchanges has dropped to 472.9 billion yuan. This is in stark contrast to 798 billion yuan average for the year. This trend mirrors a broader loss of interest in Chinese equities, with Hong Kong's market also experiencing a 6-month low. Underlying this market slump is a combination of economic challenges and policy uncertainty.
China's economic recovery is uneven, with industrial production lagging and property investment continuing its decline. Despite recent interest rate cuts, investor sentiment remains subdued as they await more concrete measures to stimulate growth. The unwinding of leveraged stock purchases further exacerbates the market downturn, reflecting a shift in investor appetite towards safer assets like bonds.
With a lack of compelling investment themes and the fading impact of previous government interventions, investors are adopting a cautious stance. The wealth effect, often driving market trends, is currently absent. The economy grapples with its recovery. The stock market is likely to remain volatile. Let's now take a look at the developments from the world of technology. As per reports, Pakistan's economy could lose up to $300 million due to internet disruptions caused by the imposition of a national firewall. Reports suggest that the country is implementing an internet firewall to monitor and regulate content and social media platforms. The government, however, has denied the use of the firewall for censorship. Social media platforms X is already banned in Pakistan. The country had blocked X during its general elections that were held this year in February. Meanwhile, the government's lack of transparency around the firewall has ignited a firestorm of distrust among internet users and Pakistan's global IT clients.
2 U.S. lawmakers are urging the Biden administration to investigate China's TP-Link technology over potential national security threats posed by their widely used Wi-Fi routers. The concern stems from fears that these devices could be utilized in cyber attacks against the United States. Republican Representative John Mulinar and Democratic Representative Raja Krishnamurthy have formally requested the Commerce Department to launch a probe. TP-Link, a leading global seller of Wi-Fi routers, is under scrutiny. The lawmakers pointed to known vulnerabilities in TP-Link's firmware and cases where the company's routers were allegedly used in cyber attacks targeting government officials in Europe as reasons for the investigation.
Google's parent company Alphabet is set to launch the much-awaited AI-generated summaries for search queries in 6 new countries. The move comes just 2 months after it rolled back some capabilities following a problem-riddled launch. AI Overviews was only available in the US till now. The feature was widely panned after giving misleading and wrong answers to simple queries such as a pizza recipe that listed glue as an ingredient and an answer claiming that former U.S. President Barack Obama is Muslim. AI Overviews feature will now be available in Brazil, India, Indonesia, Japan, Mexico, and Britain. The feature will also support local languages such as Hindi and Portuguese.
All right, next up, let's get you up to date from all the latest stories from the world of sports. Chris Kirk has set the early pace at the PGA.
The alarm bells are ringing for Coco Gauff ahead of her U.S. Open title defense. The defending champion was knocked out in her opening round at the Cincinnati Open by Kazakhstan's Yulia Putintseva. Gauff has been struggling for form with just 1 win on the American hardcourt swing this summer. She was erratic against Putintseva, who had previously knocked out world number 1 Iga Swiatek at Wimbledon. The Kazakh capitalized on more than 50 unforced errors from Gauff and reeled off the last 4 games to secure a 6-4, 2-6, 6-4 victory.
Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag has said that the Red Devils are not ready for their opening match against Fulham in the English Premier League. New signings Matthijs de Ligt and Nusser Mazraoui will be in the squad, but they only arrived on Thursday. The former Bayern Munich duo had a little chance to train with their new teammates at Old Trafford. Left back Luke Shaw is out with a calf injury. New summer signing Lenny Yoro was ruled out for 3 months in August, while Ten Hag doesn't have the services of striker Rasmus Højlund, who is nursing a hamstring injury.
A footage of Australian breakdancer Rachel Gunn, who competed at the 2024 Paris Olympics, has been going viral on social media.
Well, I've seen that one too, and she's been getting trolled for her dance routine. Now, Gunn has said the backlash has been devastating. Listen to this.
I just want to start by thanking all the people who have supported me. I really appreciate the positivity, and I'm glad I was able to bring some joy into your lives. That's what I hoped. I didn't realize that that would also open the door to so much hate, which has frankly been pretty devastating. Well, I went out there and I had fun. I did take it very seriously. I worked my butt off preparing for the Olympics, and I gave my all, truly. I'm honoured to have been a part of the Australian Olympic team and to be part of Breaking's Olympic debut.